next guest is a veteran comic, and he has one of the saltiest mouths in the game.
And now he's pushing the boundaries of good taste with his own talk show on Vice.com. Here to tell us about the Jim Norton Show and the art of being offensive is comedian Jim Norton. Welcome to Rise.
Thank you. Thank you for not showing a clip. I always hate when I'm on a show and they make me watch a clip of my. It's humiliating.
Why?
I just don't like doing it because you got to watch yourself. Usually I'm fatter than I am right now, and it's just embarrassing to watch. So I'm so happy, and then people have to pretend they're not disgusted by it. I have to go back into the green room. So thank you for not doing that.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the clip.
Yes. Take it.
No.
No. He's like, oh no. On that note.
I'm kidding, Jim.
I hate watching
kidding.
myself. Some guys can do it. Like some comedians I know can sit down with everybody like, guys, gather around, it's me again.
Yeah.
I watch it once, I edit it, and I'm finished. I never want to see it
So
again.
how do you critique your work then?
Yeah.
How do you
Just
work on
from
the craft?
while I'm doing the edit, that's still part of it. I can do it, but
Okay.
after that, I don't want to
with
see it. Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Okay, so you're not an egomaniac. That's clear.
No,
but
I am. Yeah, but an egomaniac with an inferiority complex, which is like a
Okay.
horrible combination.
So you're an egomaniac with an inferiority complex, and you're a degenerate.
Yeah, but who are you talking about earlier that you said had some kind of a scandal? And I figure if I get it, if I talk about it, they'll never get me with it.
Oh.
I mean, there's never going to be a prostitute that comes forward and say, "I know Jim Norton," because everybody's going to go, "Yeah, he told us that 10 years ago."
Okay.
Oh,
What
so
was
you-
her name?
What was her name? I mean, how much time do we have here? There's a long list.
Long list.
Yeah, they don't tell you their real names either.
Okay.
I think it was Sunshine.
It's Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
Very classy.
Yes, very nice.
So tell us, this is some of the same humor you deliver on your show. Tell us more about your show and what people can expect.
It's just an interview show, and it's like, I kind of get influenced by the same stuff like a lot of people did, like Dick Cavett and Mike
Yes.
Douglas and all those guys. But now a lot of late night TV is just perfect interviews. It's a quick 7-minute segment, and they go like, oh, blah, 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 and then you're out. I like the old days where it was uncomfortable. I saw Mike Douglas interviewing the Jackson 5, and it was great because it was just like, it was awkward, and they were all shy, and they didn't want to talk to him. And I'm like, that's real life. That's what people are like. It doesn't have to be a perfectly formulated interview. So I kind of wanted to do long-form interviews like that. And I got great guests on my show. I mean, I was able to, we got Mike Tyson and Dana White were the first episode.
Nice.
And Rick Ross I got to interview.
What was it like interviewing Ricky Rose?
No, not that. It was the other Rick, the real Rick Ross.
The real Rick Ross?
Yeah.
The real drug pit?
Yeah, the Kingpin.
Really?
That was the one I wanted to interview.
How'd you land him?
He happened to be in New York. He was a guy I had wanted badly. And he happened to be in New York doing a speech at St. John's. He goes around and gives talks right now. And it worked out for the day that we needed him. He was in town.
Well, how do you go about picking your guests? Is there something obscure you look for when you want to interview someone?
If I like them, if I find them interesting, because I have to find them interesting. And it's like I interviewed a couple of comedians as well, and Whitney Cummings and David Tell. It was long form, real conversations.
Yeah.
So if I find you interesting, then I can interview you. But I can't interview people. Like, who wants to hear an actor talk about his project? Boo! It just sucks. Oh, the director was a lot of fun. Ugh, what do you want me to do with that? I'd rather, a guy who made $3 million in a day dealing coke. That's a guy who has something interesting to say.
That's the guy. You want to learn from him.
Absolutely.
What were some of the
Absolutely.
more interesting revelations that the real Rick Ross shared with you?
He didn't, like, I wanted to ask him certain questions. Like, I wanted to ask if he had ever murdered anybody, but I didn't, because, first of all, he never went to jail for that, so I doubt he's going to confess it on my show.
Not gonna happen.
Probably not.
That was the most amazing fact, was I asked him what's the most he ever made in a day, and he said $3 million. But he told me he would stand out there in the early days of crack, and he was selling, making, I think $3,000. Every time he made $3,000, he'd run it back in the house, and he would do like 5 or 6 or 15 of these trips a day. And I asked him, where did you keep the money? Like, I've always wanted to know, we're a drug dealer, and he said, under my laundry. I'm like, what a great answer. You think it'd be this like great system, but he just put it under his dirty underpants.
Because everyone looks under the mattress. They don't look in the dirty clothes.
I know, but I'm sure if there was a raid, the cops would eventually get
Yeah.
to the laundry. They're probably not going to leave
Probably.
Get there.
Yeah.
So who would be your dream guest now?
Oh, God. I mean, it's hard to top Mike Tyson. I'm an Ozzy Osbourne freak. I've interviewed him a lot. He's always a guy. I like guys that are honest. Like, anybody who's honest, which is why I typically like fighters. Those guys always tell the truth.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, I'd like to interview Scarlett Johansson, but it would be awful, I'm sure. I would ask her inappropriate questions. She would hate it.
She'd walk off set.
Yeah, she would.
You like offending people, actually. Is this something that you've done since you were a child, or is this a relatively new thing in your life?
I don't like offending people. I just like saying what I want to say.
Okay.
I don't find any of it offensive. I mean, if the nightly news isn't offensive, something a dumb comedian says. It's like, when Chris Rock's thing recently, they asked me to go on Fox, and like, would you take the position that you're against it? I'm like, no, there's nothing he did wrong.
So you thought him joking about the Boston Marathon bombings and the 9/11 terrorist attacks?
100% okay.
Okay.
And because, I mean, why should the media capitalizes on it. I mean, they give you all this stuff, but it's in between commercial breaks. Or you watch a video about 9/11 and it's got an ad in front of it. But if a comedian addresses it, which is kind of our job, we're tasteless. You know, it's a silly thing that the press kind of gives themselves the right to address things, but not guys like Chris. And it was a brilliant monologue. I thought it was really, and he could have went up there and he didn't need to do that stuff, but he wanted to talk about the commercialization of America, and it was really smart. And yeah, I think he had every right to do it.
Are there any sacred cows? Is there some place you just will not go?
No, because everything hurts somebody. As long as you're willing to talk about the stuff that hurts you. Like, again, I tell my own awful sexual stuff, my hooker story, you know, because if I'm going to make fun of Tiger Woods' text messages, I better tell you about mine.
Okay.
You know, and they were worse than Tiger's.
And we want to hear
Really?
all about them. And we can catch them on your show and on your tour as well, right?
Yeah, or I'll text them to you if you want.
Well, where can we get more information on your show and your tour?
JimNorton.com. I'm shooting another special in January in Boston, so all my dates leading up to it are me warming up for the special, and they're all on my website.
All right.
can't
I
wait.
hope sunshine's not keeping you warm.
No, I haven't heard from sunshine in a long time. I saw the Adam's apple.
Whoa! On that note, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I paid her anyway.
Gosh, we'll be right back with more Rise Entertainment 360.